Hello, and welcome to The Narrowing Path, walking the spiritual walk. My name is Steve Van Einstein. Thank you all for joining me again today as we go through and we read the daily reading from James Allen's Daily Meditations for May 20th. And it will hopefully be another great one on this this journey we've taken this month of month of May. It's just been a ton of great stuff. Yesterday's was just heaven is where love rules and where peace is ever absent, and that is never absent. I said ever, never absent. That is, and how that was just achievable today. Now, we didn't have to wait. We can start practicing these things and we can start living differently today. And that's something I'm just grateful for. So here we go. This will be fresh to you, fresh to me, meaning this will be the first time I read it on this podcast with you. So you get my genuine response, reactions, observations, and what I relate to about the reading. So here we go. Here is May 20th's reading by James Allen, Daily Meditation. To the faithful, humble, and true will be revealed the sublime vision of the perfect one. Good news indeed is that message of Jesus which reveals to man his divine responsibilities, which says in substance to sin-stricken humanity, "Take up thy bed and walk," which tells a man that he need no longer remain the creature of darkness and ignorance and sin, if he will but believe in goodness, and will watch and strive and conquer until he has actualized in his life the goodness that is sinless. And in thus believing and overcoming, man has not only the guide of that perfect rule which Jesus has embodied in his precepts, he is also the inward guide, the spirit of truth in his own heart, the light that lighteth every man that cometh into the world, which, as he follows it, will infallibly witness to the divine origin of those precepts. Realize the perfect goodness of the eternal Christ. Talking again here about how persistence is important here. We're talking here again about the precepts of Jesus being the guiding light that we need. So here we go. Let's break this one down again. To the faithful, humble, and true will be revealed the sublime vision of the perfect one, right? So again, we're talking about the path of righteousness, but it's the faithful, humble, and true. So those who walk this path, those who walk it in faith, those who walk it honestly, those who walk it in truth. So they have the dedication and the perseverance to practice this way of living, regardless of anything else. They will get the sublime vision of the perfect one, that peace, that perspective that we're talking about, vision, perspective here of the perfect one, that the righteous perspective, the truth we're talking about here. So, good news indeed is that the message of Jesus, which reveals to man his divine responsibilities. Right? So, Jesus, regardless of Christianity, regardless of anything else, to look at what Jesus was teaching, to look at his practices, to look at his character, reveals to man his divine responsibilities, how we should act, how we should behave, how we should conduct ourselves in this world and moving forward, right? Which says in substance the sin-stricken humanity. So here we go. This is what Jesus' character tells to us, take up thy bed and walk, which tells man that he need no longer remain a creature of darkness and ignorance and sin, if he will but believe in goodness, and watch and strive and conquer until he has actualized in his life the goodness that is sinless. So, take up thy bed and walk. Do this work. Do this. Walk this path. Take the action. Live this way of life. Live this spiritual way of living. And we need no longer remain a creature. I like how he used that word, creature, of darkness and ignorance and sin. We don't need to remain into ignorance and sin and darkness, if he will but believe in goodness. The belief is where we start. Believe that it's possible to have goodness, to have righteousness, to have a Christ-like life and demeanor and character. And will watch and strive and conquer until he's actualized in his life the goodness that is sinless. When you aim at that goodness and you hold yourself to that standard, understanding that you are human, but unrelenting in your pursuit to purify your behavior, you will achieve that life, that you will actualize that life that is goodness, that is sinless. And in thus believing and overcoming, man has not only the guide of that perfect rule which Jesus has embodied. So we don't use Jesus as alone a guide, right? We don't use he himself only. He is an example that we can follow, but what ends up happening is embodied his precepts. He has also the inward guide. So the actual teachings themselves become inward guides as to how to behave, as to how to act, as to how to walk this path of life, how to be a part of this path of life. This is the great stuff. This is the good news, as some people say, right? This is the good news. We begin to have that consciousness, that spiritual consciousness. Some call it God consciousness. That inward guide. So we need no, because especially in today's day and age, there might not be an exact example, but we can do what's honest. Right? That's where this fall down happens. If we can't find an exact example where we think we can take the lesson directly from that, then we get lost, because we need a verbatim example almost, or an exact copy of our situation, which that's just impossible in today's day and age because there's so much different. But the actual teachings underlying it can be the same, and we can take those principles, those values, those disciplines, and incorporate them into daily lives. And then we have this inward guide, this conscience, this God consciousness potentially, this connection with the universe, this connection with a greater power that gives us the right actions to take. And these principles are merely simple concepts like honesty and hope and faith and forgiveness. We're not waiting for some dissertation or some plan or layout to be given to us. We simply see it, and it actualizes in our life by practicing these spiritual principles, like getting very honest and getting very simple with these things. And it comes an inward guide, the spirit of truth in his own heart. So we get that spirit of truth and that light in our own life to follow. And people will follow that by example. The light that lighteth every man that cometh into the world, which, as he follows it, will infallibly witness to the divine origin of these precepts, right? The unchangeable, undeniable, unalienable origin of these precepts, where these come from. These spiritual truths will always be here. That's the thing with truths, scientific truths, spiritual truth. These things will always be true. That's the nature of this stuff. And that's the amazing thing. These understandings, these acknowledgments will resurface and continue to resurface over and over and over again until we truly do recognize that these are spiritual truths that are never meant to leave, never meant to, or that are unchangeable. So, and here's the last line. Realize the perfect goodness of the eternal Christ, the eternal Christ-like behaviors, the eternal Christ of our spiritual character, right? That's what we're talking about here. Realize the perfect goodness of the eternal Christ. Take the goodness, take the righteousness, see that. I don't care if you have a specific religion you practice. It does not matter to me what you claim, but more so in what you act and what you believe is the right way of being. Action and how we carry ourselves will always prove to be more of substance than what we say. So, but there we go. That's today's reading. Thank you all for joining me again today. As we go through, and we're almost through the 5th month already. You know, we're coming up on that half-year point much more quickly than I feel like we should be. I know it's a day at a time, but these days seem to be stringing by pretty fast. So I'm looking forward to rounding out this month over the next week and a half and seeing what that 6th month of June brings us. One of my favorite months because that's my birthday month. So I look forward to tomorrow's reading, though, and everyone to join me with that. So until next time, thanks.